At 6 o'clock local time over Tambov Oblast, 43 Ukrainian drones were already airborne. Each one cost roughly $30,000 and was heading toward one of the most heavily defended industrial corridors in western Russia. The target listed on most operational maps was the Progress Missile Factory. This was a hardened complex, protected by layered air defenses. But 5 kilometers west of that factory, beneath a set of railway tracks feeding supplies toward Crimea, something else had been waiting for weeks. Before we dive in, please comment where you are watching from and click subscribe. This was not just another drone raid. It was a test of systems against systems. Air defense doctrine against operational design. On one side, batteries worth billions of pounds, built to counter cruise missiles and precision-guided munitions. On the other, plywood-framed drones with small engines and commercial navigation components. The stakes were larger than a single factory. That railway corridor was a strategic choke point. Fuel, ammunition, and heavy equipment for multiple formations in the southern theatre moved through that yard daily. If it stopped, units at the front would feel the impact within 48 hours. The morning engagement would determine whether that corridor remained sealed under electronic protection or briefly exposed. The first radar contacts appeared at 6:04. One returned, then 6 more. They fanned across the northern approach in a deliberate spread. This forced every radar in the sector to rotate, classify, and assign targets. The drones were UJ-22 models with a range of approximately 800 kilometers, cruising at roughly 200 kilometers per hour. Their radar cross-section was comparable to a large bird. This was small enough to blend with ground clutter, yet large enough to trigger automated tracking. On the Pansir S1 battery scopes, the picture began to bloom. 8 returns, then 12. The battery commander went to the tactical net immediately. He called out azimuth sectors and deconflicted targets with adjacent crews. In a saturation environment, the greatest risk is duplication. This occurs when 2 batteries fire at the same drone, while another slips through untouched. Every engagement requires a decision.
Declaring
Who shoots?
level 1 intrusion.
Who holds?
Multiple
Who
bogeys
trusts the
inside
neighboring
engagement
radar?
buffer.
The
I am authorizing
ZU-23
lethal
gun
force.
crews
Repeat,
spotted the
authorizing
drones
lethal
visually
force.
before some of the radars achieved stable locks. At treetop altitude, radar energy reflects off terrain, buildings, and vegetation. Human eyes, however, detect motion and silhouette. The gunners heard the engines first. A high-pitched buzz moving across frozen
Sierra 1 to
fields.
base.
Then,
4
grey shapes
unidentified
skimming
contacts
just
closing
above the
rapidly
canopy.
on the
At
thermal
200
imager.
kilometers per
Preparing for
hour
intercept.
and less than 30 meters altitude, each drone was visible to a gun crew for approximately 4 to 5 seconds. The Pansir S1 is designed for precisely this threat. It is a mobile air defense system mounting search radar, fire control radar, and ready-to-fire missiles. Each missile costs approximately $170,000. The search radar rotates, scanning out to 30 kilometers under ideal conditions. Once a contact is detected, the fire control radar logs and calculates an intercept solution. Under optimal parameters, detection to launch can occur within 14 seconds. But optimal conditions rarely exist at treetop level. At low altitude, effective detection range drops closer to 12 kilometers. The radar must distinguish a drone from reflections of the ground beneath it. Signal processing becomes the limiting factor. At 6:05, the first missile left the rail. 3 kilometers of airspace were crossed in seconds. One UJ-22 disintegrated. Another followed. Then a third. The system was functioning exactly as designed. By 6:10, the missile counters told a different story. There were 48 ready missiles at 6 o'clock. Only 31 remained at 6:10 and just 19 by 6:15. The drones were arriving from multiple vectors: north, northeast, and northwest. Each was spaced just far enough apart to force sequential engagements. Detect, classify, decide, fire, reset, repeat.
Drones are clear, heading
Approximately 6
090.
seconds per cycle. One battery tracked 2 drones simultaneously. It fired on the closer contact while the second continued inbound. Another battery reported 8 missiles remaining and 3 contacts within its sector. The corridor was expending interceptors faster than it was eliminating targets. Each engagement was tactically sound. Strategically, however, the exchange rate was unfavorable. Reloading was not an option mid-engagement. A Pansir cannot swap magazines in the field like an infantry rifle. It requires a dedicated loader vehicle, additional crew, and approximately 20 minutes with the system offline. During reload, radar coverage drops and the launcher is vulnerable. In the middle of a drone swarm, going offline is a calculated risk few commanders accept. By 6:20, 12 drones had been destroyed. More than $2 million in missiles had been expended against airframes, worth a fraction of that. The UJ-22 did not need to survive. It only needed to be seen. Its radar signature was sufficient to trigger automatic engagement logic. Its speed was slow enough to guarantee a full firing cycle. A stealthier drone might penetrate, but it would not deplete the magazines. At 6:25, new radar signatures appeared, faster, higher and larger returns. These were not decoys. They were heavier strike drones carrying warheads measured in tens of kilograms. They had launched hours earlier from deeper inside Ukrainian territory. Because they had farther to travel, they arrived behind the slower decoys. The decoys had launched closer to the border, arriving first despite their lower speed. The sequencing was deliberate. 15 kilometers from the defended zone, the first heavy drone closed at approximately 190 knots. A second appeared 12 kilometers out. Then a third at 10 kilometers. Crews assessed their remaining inventory. 3 missiles in one launcher, 2 in another. 3 inbound threats remained. The mathematics were unforgiving. One crew tracked a target for 6 seconds without firing. They allowed it to pass, conserving missiles for subsequent contacts. Another battery fired its final interceptor and achieved a kill. The next drone in line continued unopposed. Across the corridor, crews faced identical choices: fire and go empty, or hold and risk impact. At 6:35, something changed. One inbound drone began drifting off its programmed course. Not a sharp evasive maneuver, but a gradual lateral deviation of several degrees. Another exhibited similar drift. A third descended into open terrain without interception. There were no missile launches and no audible explosions. Contacts simply diverged and vanished from the scopes. Parked near the factory since before dawn was an R330 ZTEL electronic warfare system. It was mounted on a Ural truck chassis and carried no visible weapons.
Control, this
Its
is
purpose
Watcher
was
1.
signal
I have an
denial. The
unconfirmed
system
altitude
transmits
spike on
broadband
target Charlie,
interference
requesting
across a
immediate
wide frequency
verification.
spectrum. This overwhelms satellite
Signature
navigation
intensifying
and cellular
rapidly.
bands within a radius of up
solid
to
lock on the
30
target.
kilometers. Satellite
Maintain
navigation
persistent
signals
track.
originate from satellites approximately 20,000 kilometers above Earth. By the time they reach a receiver, the signal strength is extremely weak. The jammer does not need to decode or outthink the signal. It simply transmits noise at higher local power, drowning out legitimate timing data. Inside the jamming bubble, GPS, GLONASS, and other navigation systems degrade or fail entirely. As the heavy drones entered the jamming
There
zone,
it is,
their
high above
navigation
the cliffs.
solutions began to drift.
Incredible,
Timing
I've
errors
never
of
seen one this
microseconds
close before.
translate into positional errors
Quickly, get a shot.
of tens or hundreds of meters. Autopilot systems attempt correction, compounding the deviations. The drones did not recognize the deception. Their systems reported valid signals, but those signals were false. Several heavy drones crashed short of their intended targets. No interceptors were required. The electronic warfare system achieved effects comparable to missile engagements without expending munitions. For nearly 50 minutes, every drone entering the bubble exhibited navigational instability. Then, at 6:45, a new set of inbound drones maintained stable courses. No drift, no deviation. The jammer was transmitting at full power, but the drones
Wait,
were
look over there,
unaffected.
by the
These
junction box.
platforms relied
I
on
see it.
onboard
Probably just
visual
a sensor
navigation
glitch.
systems.
Keep
Cameras
moving.
compared real-time imagery to preloaded satellite maps. Inertial measurement units provided dead reckoning independent of external signals. Without reliance on satellite timing, jamming had limited effect. These drones were not tracking the factory. Their projected flight paths converged 5 kilometers west toward the electronic warfare system itself. The Pansi batteries in that sector were depleted. Gun trucks were positioned kilometers away. The jammer continued broadcasting, inadvertently advertising its own location. At 2 kilometers, onboard vision systems transitioned
acquired.
from terrain matching to
High-pressure
target
pump assembly
recognition.
online.
The truck chassis and
Descent
antenna
velocity
arrays matched
nominal.
stored
All
reference
systems
imagery. The
green.
electronic warfare system had a range measured in tens of kilometers, but zero organic weapons for self-defense. At 6:58, the strike drone impacted. Approximately 75 kilograms of high explosive detonated against the vehicle and trailer until the
Are these
arrays
readings
collapsed.
accurate?
The
Control,
jamming emission
confirming a
ceased
level 2
instantly.
anomaly
The
on Sector 4.
electromagnetic bubble
Initiating
vanished.
Protocol
Satellite
B.
navigation signals returned across the corridor. Cellular bands reopened. Air defense crews waited for a follow-up wave that did not arrive. The factory remained intact. The immediate tactical picture appeared stable. What the crews did not see was the second-order effect. For months, cellular service in the surrounding area had been unreliable. The same broadband interference that denied satellite navigation also suppressed local cellular frequencies. Under a set of railway tracks 5 kilometers west, a concealed device had waited for a single stable cellular connection. At 15:30 that afternoon, a fuel train entered the classification yard at the choke point. There were 16 tank cars, 11 carrying petrol and 5 carrying compressed gas. Beneath the ballast, a mobile phone wired to an improvised detonator registered a signal for the first time in months. It required no answered call, only a handshake with the nearest tower. At 15:34, the device activated. The rail fractured beneath the fourth car. At approximately 60 kilometers per hour, the train began to derail in sequence. Couplers failed and tank cars ruptured. Fuel met open air. The resulting fireball rose hundreds of meters. The single-track choke point closed. The morning drone operation had not been intended to destroy the missile factory. It was designed to exhaust missile inventories and eliminate the electronic warfare umbrella. This restored connectivity for a device buried weeks earlier. 43 decoy drones, multiple strike drones, and 58 minutes of air defense engagement. Millions of dollars in missiles and equipment were expended. All of this was to enable 1 bar of cellular service beneath a railway line.